East Hampton Village DRB, we are on.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the DRB. I call to order the Design Review Board for Tuesday, April 4th, 2023. The first item on our agenda, excuse me, are the minutes of March 21st, 2023. Are there any questions or corrections? If not, then I would entertain a motion to approve. Thank you, Cheryl. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ann. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is the Historic District, Guildhall, 158 Main Street. Do we have is the applicant present?
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Take the podium and just introduce yourself and let us know what you want to do. Thank you.
Peter Penoyer, architect for the project. I'm here with my colleague Graham Rice, the project manager, and we're here to look at minor modifications to our original application for work on Guildhall. Should I describe what those are?
Yes, please. Thank you, Peter.
So during construction, as the drawings developed, we discovered two interesting things. One is that through the theater consultant, that the curtains, because of the configuration structurally, mechanically, under the ceiling of the fly space, do not open fully. This is a technical thing which we knew we could solve. It requires the addition of two small extensions boxes tucked behind the parapet on the roof, and that by making that modification, we're allowed to actually have the curtain withdraw fully, which is a good thing in the theater world.
Yes, that is great.
So we solved that structural mechanical problem, and we need to come to you to show you what that looks like. It's just over there. You'll barely be able to see it. But the other thing, of course, that related, I think, to the pandemic and our standards about indoor air quality was that we're reconfiguring the ductwork on that same roof, and the new duct is slightly larger, as it must be to provide the proper healthy indoor air environment. And also from the theater consultant, the smaller ducts are noisy. They create velocity, which creates sound in the theater. Again, in the theater world, that's a bad thing. So as architects, we're solving a couple of small structural and mechanical issues, and we wanted to be sure that you saw exactly what that would look like. To me, the drawings aren't as telling as actually standing there looking at the roof. That's simply the total of our application. So there's some other door replacements in kind, and we're painting the building, taking off conduits here and there, all those kinds of things. But I think that's really more the level of maintenance and caring for the building.
Right. And I noticed it is coming out beautifully, as many people in the village of East Hampton are all remarking how lovely it's coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. And Billy Hayjack, you have your input on this application.
Good morning. Check for the village. This is a project that required a special permit that was issued by the zoning board and variances, and design review board approval for a certificate of appropriateness. And so the board is conducting your preliminary review before it can be sent to the zoning board of appeals for modification of the special permit. But in terms of the actual project, as was described by Mr. Penoyer, the two bump outs are almost unnoticeable. So I don't have any particular comment pertaining to the actual project itself.
Okay, Billy, thank you. Tom, any?
No, I would just echo the same.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so this concludes our preliminary review of this project. Board members, are there any questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
It looks like the north view from Pondview Lane is really the only place where you see that HVAC noticeably. It sort of impedes the view of that pretty window. All the other images, which were super helpful, thank you for doing that, don't really seem to have any visual effect. Did you look at putting the HVAC behind the railing instead?
Yes, it's interesting. Ultimately, we have to get that air into the room, into the theater house. And although this isn't in your purview, the preservation of that theater, the tent and all that, was one of their primary goals. They did not want us putting ducts inside. That would have solved this issue. That window is in fact a blind window that's not original to the building. It was put in by Robert A. Stern Architects. It currently has a lower shiny metal duct which picks up the light a little. So yes, we are raising it on the interior by one light into the window. You spotted that. It's less visible now that the grade has changed somewhat back there, but yes, that is a modification, and that is driven by the goal of preserving the original interior architecture of the theater and providing enough air. We looked at every possible other route. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Okay, any other questions? Okay, then this will conclude the preliminary review, and we'll send it off to the ZBA. Okay, the next item on our agenda, thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is the timber frame landmark at 132 Montauk Highway, LLC. Is the applicant present? Applicant present? No.
No, we're not.
Okay. Billy, can you?
Quick rundown?
Yes, please. Thank you.
So this is a request for a certificate of appropriateness for work that has been conducted at the property located at 132 Montauk Highway. It's the Talmadge Jones house. So the village created a process. It was a historic, I don't want to say a district, but the village selected, with the property owner's consent, a number of important timber frame buildings. And as an incentive to encourage preservation of the timber frame and to reduce the amount of alterations and extensions to those buildings, the property is eligible for an accessory dwelling unit. So you can build a second residence on the property. And that was an enticement to maintain and preserve the original building, the timber frame, and the integrity of the original building. This property underwent a renovation recently without the benefit of prior review. So they removed portions of the floor system on the first floor. They altered some of the windows. Most of the windows were altered. And they had completed fairly extensive interior renovation of the structure. They're seeking approval now for retroactive replacement of the windows. And I had prepared a brief memorandum to the board. The plans that were submitted lack specificity, and I outlined the items that I think should be included on the plans to ensure that the board understands what's being approved and what's proposed. And some of the windows that are proposed, I don't think are necessarily appropriate for this particular site, and offered suggestions and recommendations on how to correct that. If you have any specific questions for me, I'd be happy to try to answer.
Board members, any questions? Kate?
Yeah, I do. I've actually restored several old windows, so I know a lot about it. Were the old windows just removed and gone?
For the most part, by the time a stop work order was issued and we'd been to the property, all the old windows were gone. There was a pile of debris left, and the debris that we could identify were like vinyl replacements. So I don't know. The contractor indicated that many of the windows had already been removed and replaced with old vinyl. So it was more hearsay than anything. But there are no original windows left that could be salvaged.
I feel the windows should be replaced back. The original windows that go in keeping with the house. And I'm not big on all this vinyl or AZAC trim And he could use it so you don't have to paint it. But what's wrong with painting the little wood window?
I
That was
agree.
one of my suggestions, was to
So,
keep all the trim wood. And it's pretty important to keep the original door and the,
I think so.
And did Mr. Denny know about this meeting?
I forwarded in my report and told him that it was fairly sure he knew.
so basically on this, and this has happened before, this person will have to, as far as I'm concerned, will have to have new windows remilled or brought up to this is there. And I also noticed that they made the windows so large that now with the front view, all of the shutters are missing and they
Yeah.
cannot be installed with the windows that large. And they also, but I think it was 9/9 or something like this,
8/8.
Yes,
The old one was 6/6.
6/6, yes. So
They do make those windows,
right,
replica of
right.
the ones they took out. It's a shame they took those windows out.
Yes.
Well, they can custom make anything.
Yeah, they're gonna have to custom make it. And during this process, Tom, what is your, what are your thoughts on this? They will go to you and come to your department as they complete?
Good morning.
Yes,
Once your board would reach a decision one way or the other or give direction, then a building permit would be issued. And there's, a lot of interior work. Pretty egregious act,
yeah, I know.
quite honestly. So we did stop it, and it requires a building permit to get going once you guys are good. There's court proceedings as well. I don't know that really plays into anything for you guys, but yeah, it was pretty egregious.
It's pretty sad. So Pam, then we'll,
Well, we have a comment too.
oh, yes, I'm
When you're
sorry.
ready.
Is the,
Yes.
is whatever's done on the inside is not really our purview, is that
Well, in
correct?
this case, I believe it is.
I mean, the timber frame, if they've
Yeah.
removed all the timber frame, I've seen photos from the real estate listing and, it's beautiful on the inside if that's all.
Yeah, our code is pretty specific
Okay.
in this
Yeah.
particular designation of these homes, that the timber frame remain intact.
Does the code say anything about that beautiful trim that was on the inside of the windows? If you look at the,
I'd say not specifically.
that must have been removed as well in order to.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's strict. The place is totally gutted out.
So we went online and this gal did pictures of the interior. And apparently that the kitchen in particular was remodeled back in the 70s.
Yes, I think the rear was added in
Yeah, I don't know how many times the house been sold, but
Yeah. I'm not
had
sure,
been-
but right now it has that kitchen, and as you walk in, it's a very open floor plan with no partitions and,
yeah,
not probably what you would see in that era
right.
when it was originally, yeah, so.
So basically, we're going to issue them a building permit, and they will come to you regarding the various things that are wrong here.
I'm suggesting in order for the design review board to issue any type of a decision,
Yes.
the applicant has to provide additional details
Oh,
concerning
okay.
what windows they're going to use,
Okay.
floor plans,
Okay.
and more detail.
Okay.
Exactly what was done to the building and what they're proposing to do. Once we receive that information, we'll review it. It'll come back before the board. The board can act on that application at that time. And if it meets your approval, they would proceed to a building permit.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Very good.
So that concludes that.
Public
I'm
comment,
sorry.
the public comment.
Oh, public comments. I'm sorry.
My name's Erica Broberg Smith. I'm an architect in East Hampton Village for 27 years. I work quite a bit in the village. I do new residences, historic renovations, all sorts of stuff. I was hired by Ryan Dennehy and Liz Young in December of 2022. I don't know if I wasn't hired specifically for the historic aspects of the house. They hired me to do a renovation of the front house. After speaking with Rob Jahota quite a bit about this project at the at the building department, I'm the one who told them that they were able to build a second house in the back, and I explained to them why, and that was an incentive to not touch the front house. The original windows, many of the original windows were in the house. I have probably 200 images of the house because I did a full site survey and measurement. I have the as-built drawings and the full package of documentation that my firm did for this client. So we can zoom in and see exactly which windows were original and which were not. In addition, the interior, which I had explained to them, was significant. The mantles, the trim, the wainscoting. I mean, it was like a wedding cake on the inside of the main house. I have all of the documentation of that as well. It is stripped and gutted. The interiors, as I understand it, and this is an issue that I have personally with the code, the interiors are not part of your purview or anyone's, and any of these houses are allowed to be stripped on the inside. So I do think the village should look at that. I don't know whether, not being allowed to do that's the way, but I do think it should be, some of these interiors should be reviewed and preserved. So I just want to read a couple things from you. These are all of the emails that I have. I sent to November 3rd, 2021. I've sent an inquiry. This is all to this client. I've sent an inquiry to East Hampton Village Building Department to gather all of your setbacks coverage information. Hold on, just bear with me. They were sent the timber frame PDF package twice. On 11/10/21 before I was retained, and then I didn't think they were hearing me, so I sent it again on 2/22/22 so that they could. Okay, here, and then I forwarded every email I have from Rob Jahota to them so that they could see all of the rules. Here's the package I sent to them. Here's an email to Ryan Dennehy on December 13th, 2021. Hi, Ryan. From the horse's mouth, see below. This is the email from Rob Jahota explaining what you can and can't do.
Know about it.
See, here is a spreadsheet from the client, Liz. Does the historic zoning of the house limit us at all? I answer that question. We don't want the house to look like a science project. Let's see. This is from the surveyor. Yes, this is a timber frame landmark house, the Talmadge Jones house. Improvements to the property need DRB approval. See attached guidelines. See. This is a list that I wrote on February 4th, 2022. EBSA, that's my company, will be meeting periodically with the zoning village to ensure we're on track with the code. It's very important to keep reaching out to them as they make changes. I plan to ask the village about the lighting changes in the historical house. I think they will say it's fine. I want to make sure we follow the rules because there is the possibility they will be doing a walkthrough of that structure when there is an open building permit for the back house. 210, this email was sent for any architecture on the front house. Please keep in mind that there are stringent rules for renovation of the front historical house. We need to review in detail what can and cannot be done with Village Hall. I would recommend knowing this information prior to starting design. I will meet with the village to find out the details tomorrow. February 22nd, please see attached PDF from the village regarding your historical. It is it is advised to meet. Okay.
Thank you. I think we understand where you're coming from here. There was a lot of things that have to be corrected now. Thank you. Is the applicant present?
One more thing. I quit the project because I would not present what the interior designer Gilland and Yas wanted to do and present, so I wouldn't participate in it. So I quit in February 2020.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your input.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Is the applicant present now? Are you?
Yes.
132.
Yeah.
Do you want to take the podium, introduce yourself, and
Yeah,
give us a presentation of what you would like to do?
Yeah, when we apologize, we're late. We were running around to the different offices.
Yeah, so found our way here.
Yeah.
But thanks for seeing us this morning. I think we just sort of wanted to open by saying we want to collaborate with everybody. We recognize that.
What is your name?
I'm Ryan Dennehy. This is my wife, Liz Young.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So we bought the home because it was a historic home, completely fell in love with it, planned on it being our forever home out here.
Right.
The intention always has been to preserve as much of the historic nature as possible while making it comfortable and safe to live in. So that's been our intention from the start. We did.
Okay, one question. Did you know that obviously that's an historic house?
100%.
And you know that it comes with certain covenants. You know that?
Yes,
correct.
We
Right.
got the I think within the first 6 months of owning it, I emailed the village and got the PDF, the timber frame PDF.
Yeah.
Began reviewing it.
And
My question is, why didn't you follow that?
I mean, I can start by saying when we embarked on the first part of the project with the architect that was looking to win the project, the initial set of plans were significantly more impactful to the historic nature, adding a large glass structure to the back that we felt harmed the historic look of the property. So we paused that and said, hey, we just want to keep the existing structure, maintain cost, and actually maintain as much of the historic nature as possible. What I can say we did incorrectly was we didn't stay involved enough in the project. So specifically the two areas that we screwed up, and we take full responsibility for this, is one, in making sure that it's structurally sound, because it was not structurally sound. You could basically fall through the top floor, and being really involved with exactly the type of framing that has to be used, and then two, on the windows. So we take full responsibility we should have taken a more active role in that process in making sure we were complying with the specifics for the windows and the framing.
Yeah, and so in hindsight, I guess to answer your question, is I think we realize now there was a much higher level of involvement and engagement with all of you that we should have had in the beginning. And so really what we're trying to figure out is a path forward that makes sense for the long-term structural integrity of the home, but also just, we intend to own it for a very long time, and we want to honor sort of what it was. But I think we made some mistakes early on, and so we just want to be as collaborative as possible.
Yeah.
How do you say that you could fall through the floor when it's been standing since 18?
The previous owners did some really, I think what we later discovered was really low quality work. So we had an instance where someone's foot went through one of the floorboards, and then when we pulled it up, what we started to find was that there was just a lot of rotted.
If you put your finger in the beams, they deteriorate on your hands, start falling apart.
So I think we found later on that the home inspection we did initially when we bought it didn't really give us the full scope of just how rotted, and there's termites and just a whole bunch of things. And so it, we realized very quickly, hey, this is actually in a lot worse shape than we had thought.
For sure. Things that we definitely wish we knew during the
So we don't want to change the look of the house, but we want to make sure that this thing can stand up, and be around.
But the windows specifically, that doesn't affect the floors. And that definitely changes the look of the house in a significant way.
Yeah, and so
The intention with the windows was really to make sure that it could be a safe family home. So from when we purchased the home, the home was listed as a 4-bedroom home. If you look at Out East or on Zillow. Yep. So we purchased the home with the intention of it being a 4-bedroom home, one that we could grow a family in. When we were getting the CO, and I might not be getting these details exactly right, it was a bit ago, when we got the CO post-purchasing the home, we agreed to rezone it as like a 2-bed because the windows were too small on the 3rd story to be a proper egress and therefore qualify as a bedroom. So the initial intent of the windows was to just make the home safe for a family home egress-wise while also maintaining the look. That being said, we acknowledge that even with the house doesn't have shutters on it right now, the full intention is to put shutters that look identical to the existing ones on. So
I think they'll fit. I don't think they'll fit.
Yeah.
The new windows.
The new windows.
So that's the other thing too is I think we're prepared now to do whatever we need to do to get it back to the historical aesthetic. So that means we need to take out the windows, put in smaller ones that are the 6x6 with the wood.
Well, the challenge is that they're not bedrooms and you can't egress.
It's 6/6. I guess you put it 8/8.
Yeah, I think, a question we have for you guys is if the shutters fit, does that make us more comfortable with the 8x8? Because we are looking to make sure that we can have a family house that's safe for children to have egress.
Okay. Billy, could you address some of these issues that they're just bringing up regarding, since you were late to the meeting, maybe we can reiterate?
6x6 is fine for egress. I mean,
Yes.
there's,
Yeah, the lights, the divided lights don't change whether or not you can egress from a window.
Yeah, so one of the things we were thinking about today is it would make more sense for us to just come back with a much more robust set of plans.
Yes.
Based on Bill, your report made a ton of sense. And so
Okay.
we've also engaged John Huber, who I think some of you may know, and he's going to dig into Billy's report and really just work with us, again, on a much more robust set of plans. So I think our recommendation would be leave the record open. We'd love to come back to you with something that better reflects what we all want to see.
And if there's any guidance from you guys on specifics of what it needs to be, like is it the 6x6 windows only in the front, then that would be helpful. And we have obviously Billy, your recommendation.
I think, yes. Why don't you send us plans in to Billy and the building department, Tom Parado, and then we'll reschedule a meeting.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
You mentioned a few times how important the historic nature of the house is, and that's why you loved it.
Yeah.
I was wondering, I also love historic homes. Why then gutting the inside and ripping off all that trim and the original mantles?
We kept the original fireplace mantles. They're still in the house today. I was there this morning. We love them. I can't wait to keep them. So we kept as much of the trim as we possibly could. We kept the rounded banister. So a lot of the interior historic nature, we've maintained as much as possible.
Yeah, anything that we took out was stuff that was
90s reno.
added in the 90s, plywood.
Yeah.
All
Not the window trim.
We still have all of it in the house.
I don't know if that's true or not, but the intent always was to modernize the home to make it comfortable for a family while preserving as much historic nature as possible.
Well, whatever trim and windows that are missing now and shutters, they could all be reproduced.
Yeah.
So you could all have them, they could all be custom built.
Yeah.
And then reinstalled. So you go ahead and send the complete plans and then we'll act upon that. Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Cool. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hey, that concludes our meeting for today. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Cheryl, thank you. Do you have a second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.